together so they can try things. You're invited to this podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
This is the Patreon powered episode. And this month, the fans have chosen The Color Purple, the 1985 film, which was directed by Steven Spielberg and written by Menno Meyjes, and based off the 1982 Pulitzer Prize winning novel by Alice Walker of the same name. Marcus.
1982. That's a fast turnaround.
Yeah, that's like
Wait, or when did the Pulitzer Prize in 1982?
No, it was written in 1982. Yeah.
That's 3-year turnaround on a Steven Spielberg film? That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Marcus, have you ever seen this movie?
I've never seen this movie, but I've seen the musical, which I think they're making a movie version of. Yeah.
I just saw they cast her in it and Corey Hawkins, who played Benny in The Heights. He was one of the best parts of that movie. So exciting.
Cool. Yeah, that's it. So I'm not, even then, I have this thing where I can't remember plots of musicals that I go see if I only see them one time. So I went to go see The Color Purple, and to me, was not like, this irreverent thing in my brain that I had.
Oh, sure.
So I just kind of forgot what the plot was. I was like, okay, abuse, and then you sing in between.
Wow, that must be what the stage musical is.
That's what the musical is.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. All I knew about it is I knew it was a Spielberg movie. I knew Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah were in it. And that's it. That's all I knew. Oh, and I knew that it was one of our friends, Tizom's favorite film.
Yes.
Followed very closely by Dreamgirls, but number one is The Color Purple. And we always meant to watch it over the pandemic because we were living each other at the time of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we never quite got to it, probably because we were in sad times and we didn't want to be that sad again.
It was hard to watch sad things during the pandemic.
It was tough. It was really tough. There was a lot of, I thought I would catch up on so many like Oscar-y, intense drama movies, and I barely watched any.
Yeah.
I watched Smash again. The 2 seasons of Smash from TV.
I kept wanting to watch horror movies, but it was hard. It was just hard emotionally.
Just to talk about what the movie is really quick, we follow Sally through most of her life from a from a kid until, into her older age.
Yeah.
And
the movie starts off with her so young that I don't know what age she is at the end of it.
I don't know what age she was at the beginning either.
Yeah. We could do the math because it ends in 1937, I think.
Too young. Well, also, it's also hard because at the end of the movie, she looked like she was supposed to be like 50 or 60, but not that many years went by either. So I'm not sure.
She was 14 when the movie started. And then,
is that right?
But I don't know what year it was when the movie started. Otherwise, we could math it out.
It's like, I think it was 1909, right? It was the placard that came on the screen. Which I guess that makes sense. Either way, it doesn't matter. So she was young and then she got old. That was her movie. That was the movie. It was the early 20th centuries down in Georgia. And wow. So trigger warning for this episode of this podcast, because I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on it, but this movie is about, and this is me speaking from watching the movie one time. This movie is about what a Black woman would have to go through in this era of time.
Yeah. Some
of the horrors and atrocities they would face in their daily life.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing that struck me about this movie. This movie is about some heavy stuff, right? Heavy right off the bat. Things. The words I don't even want to say. But it didn't feel, the movie, it felt like was making a point to say how everyday all the things were.
Yes.
Which made it an even harder pill to swallow.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, no, 100%. I have one very early gripe. And honestly, this is one of my few gripes with the film. You've said it very well, that this movie is about very disturbing things that happen to Black women every day, especially around this time. And while the main character is talking about some of these very, very horrible things, some of the worst things you will ever hear, they're playing very goofy music. Like Randy Newman, You Got a Friend in Me instrumental behind her saying some of the most vile shit and describing the shit that's happening to her.
Because she's like, it's like a young girl reading from her diary kind of music. But the diary is about the badness.
Yeah, and it felt like it didn't have the weight that it should have. And I get it. Like, it's a mundane, everyday thing. But then play everyday music. Don't play like do 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 do. Like, it was so jarring, and it felt directly tied to Steven Spielbergisms that he has when he directs a film.
Sure. Which is funny because the Quincy Jones was a producer on this film, and he also composed for it.
They should not have used that composition for that moment.
Sure.
There's a few moments like that too. I feel like sometimes, like, there's a lot of good music in this, but it feels like sometimes the choice of music for what was happening felt sillier than what I think it called for.
I totally hear that. I felt like I just didn't. I felt that same way.
Yeah.
But for me, I was assuming it was coming out of a place of ignorance of the music of the time. You know, like I
mean, that's fair.
Know jazz and blues and things like this.
Yeah.
But the music definitely felt like it was an important part of it. And anytime it felt, because I also clocked those moments where I was like, well, that seems weird.
Yeah.
I just assumed I was like, well, I must not know something about this.
No, I think it's just bad.
Oh, maybe.
Choice, because they do it right in other parts of the film, you know?
Yeah. So, and some of the music in this movie is brilliant.
Yeah. But those instances I did not enjoy, especially hearing how hard, you know, this woman's life was. It could have just worked a little bit better. It took me out of the moment.
I hear you. For me, the crazy thing is at this beginning of this film is, so listen, even though this is a critically acclaimed film and it's about very important stuff, I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm going to say how I really feel the whole time about it.
Okay.
When this movie started, I was confused and like out of it. Like, I thought, like, what is this movie? Like, the way they throw you right in, the way it felt like I just didn't, it got right to it so hard, so much. And later I realized that they just wanted to get through that to get to the story they wanted to tell later.
Yeah.
Right. And it felt like that at the beginning.
That's a good point.
But once you got past that, and it wasn't a knock on the actresses when they're young, because I actually thought they did pretty good. It was fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But once we got past the young person bit, I felt like the movie really started for me. Like, then I was really connecting with the characters.
Yeah.
I was really like understanding where they were coming from, how they were living, what they were doing. Maybe it was just hard for me to watch at the beginning is all it was. Like, because it was just
hard to watch.
It was almost cartoony in how awful it was, which made it feel even more demonic and evil. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's hard because the things that we're talking about and that were happening were so vile and so hard to get through. Like I was telling you before, I was like, I almost couldn't get through the challenge just because of the first like 20 minutes of the movie.
It really is. Yeah.
And I feel like it's not treated with the weight of everything else in the movie. And I don't know if that's because they wanted to talk about it and respect the book and respect the events, but not really dig into it. Or if they just wanted to speed run trauma so that way they could get to Whoopi Goldberg on screen. Like, I don't know the reasoning behind it, but you're right. It felt rushed.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think we should feel a little vindicated because, well, one, I don't think it was to get with Whoopi Goldberg. She wasn't anybody before this. We'll talk about that, but she wasn't anybody before this.
Yeah.
But the NAACP, some chapters of it boycotted it because of the betrayal here at the beginning of the film. So like, we're not the only ones that had a problem with some of the way things were like shaped and things like that. And also, this was more to talk about the LGBTQ plus aspect of the movie. But Steven Spielberg in interviews later admitted that he did pull his punches in this movie, and he did that on purpose because he knew he couldn't otherwise get a PG-13 rating.
Okay.
That was, and because Steven Spielberg is also a producer, and he knows that like as much he could have made a way more graphic, way darker, way more R-rated movie. He could have, but then less people would see it.
Yeah.
And he wanted more people to see it because he said it was important, you know?
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Every little bit of Spielberg that I saw talking about it, he was very like, yeah, I'm really glad I made it, but like complicated. Like, was I the right guy? I don't know. I thought I shouldn't even have taken it. You know, colored people said, a colored person should have made this movie, but then other people said it wouldn't have gotten made if I didn't. So he's like, but you know, I did what I could. I feel like I failed some aspects of it. I'm proud of others. And I was like, huh, all right, that's fair. You know, I guess, you know, it's hard. How do you like, you also can't like shit on the movie you've made and it's an important movie, but also he has to like admit that he's super white.
No, I think I don't want to say Steven Spielberg is a good dude, but everything I've heard from him, he seems aware of what's going on and he's trying to do the right thing, which I think is good.
Yeah. But then, you know, he did just also direct West Side Story. So where lessons learned, I don't know. I guess to be fair, half that movie's white, right? I guess to be fair. Half of that movie's white. That's the point.
But it's also interesting because I feel like Steven Spielberg is one of those guys that like you put him on a project, it brings people to the project, and then more people are seeing minorities and more minorities are being hired. Like there's arguments to be made, I could see.
And also, Spielberg is a very good director, right? Like the reason he is there is because he can make a good film.
He was a good director for sure.
The 1985. There you go.
Yeah. During this time, he's a great director. This
is prime.
He's a great director. You know? I just think the Spielbergisms I no longer enjoy. I think that they are very like, it's a very time and place thing because of how many movies he directed, because of how many times people have rewatched those same movies. It feels like not a cliche or trope, but it feels like, oh, this is Steven Spielberg directing like something that would come on local TV at like in the afternoon, you know?
Yeah.
He's got that kind of directing style that I think is good and good for storytelling, but it has like a hopeful playfulness that I don't care for as much anymore in my movies.
Oh, I hear that. And whilst it is very apropos for something a la dinosaurs chasing you through a park, maybe not for a movie about Seeley.
Yes.
Here.
That's well put. Agreed.
Well, once we got started, though, once we got past this point, and we can go back and talk about anything you'd like, but for me, that's most of the beginning I want to talk about.
I want to talk about the rest of the movie. Once we
get past that and we see Seeley as an adult, she's not even a freaking adult. She's like,
no, she's not an adult,
22 or something.
Not even at the time, right? I don't know. It's hard to track because she has the kid at 14. So the movie started before she was 14 because you see that happen.
And I thought it was 10 years later after that. But
maybe it was. I don't know.
Honestly, complain about the movie. Time-wise, this movie did not care to explain to me time at all. I was so lost time-wise.
They showed it on the screen. I just was never. It never felt at a moment where I was ready to get information. It felt like, oh no, this traumatic thing happened. 1937. You're like, what? No, I don't care.
But also, you know what that does? That makes you do math as the audience member. And I'm like, oh, okay, so she would be. I don't know. She's got gray hair now. I don't care. Whatever. Okay, fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what happened. I would see the year, start doing math, and then things would happen. And I was like, well, no, I want to see what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. But once we see, gosh, so the fact that she had to marry Mr.
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. First of all while, like, I don't even know how to speak on everything except to say wild, because I know it's real. I know it happens. I know it still happens. I know some of this stuff is crazy. And I'm not even talking about the trauma stuff. I'm just talking about the logistics of like the way things were in the 1910s in the South. It's just crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of really messed up things that happen. I feel like this movie does a good job of showing that, like, especially at the time and still today, that like it's difficult being black. It's difficult being a black woman, and like this movie shows it. It shows a black woman's life and how she's kind of like looked down upon by all the white people in society, and then goes home to her, or not really allowed to go anywhere, but is home with her husband and her family, which are supposed to be the one place where she feels welcomed and feels like she has community. And her husband is beating her.
Yeah, that's the least of it, right?
Yeah.
She has to do everything. It's crazy. But gosh, I don't know. I don't know what your introduction to Whoopi Goldberg was, but can I explain to you mine? Okay. I remember when I was a kid, the first time I can recall, maybe I saw Sister Act before this, I don't know. But the first time I can recall knowing that Whoopi Goldberg was Whoopi Goldberg, maybe I saw Sister Act, but I probably only saw it as that. And she's so good that I didn't see her as Whoopi Goldberg, the person, the icon, the famous person. The first time I remember seeing Whoopi was in that movie where she becomes Santa Claus. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Where the end of the movie ends with Whoopi Goldberg becoming Santa.
I'm looking at her IMDb and I do not see that movie.
Hold on. I gotta find it because I'm not making this up. There is a movie
I believe you.
Where I just know it ends up she is there sitting on a park bench with Santa Claus's hat, contemplating whether or not she wants to become Santa.
Oh my
Not like
God.
a version of Santa. And it was just that is Whoopi Goldberg in my head.
She
was Fantasy in The Page Master.
Oh, okay. She was in Ghost too. That's pretty famous.
Well, Ghost
role.
is where she got her Oscar.
Yeah. I forgot she won an Oscar.
She got nominated for. She's an EGOT, baby.
Oh,
dude,
hell
come
yeah.
on.
Whoopi.
Whoopi's an EGOT. She got all of it. Come on. What are you talking about?
I know she's in The Lion King.
For the whoop. Respect for the new one?
No, she was in the original.
Oh, no. She's the hyena.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her career is iconic.
And it started with Color Purple.
I know. She was a stand-up before this.
Yeah.
Because I was watching her. She played God in a very Muppets Christmas
A very Merry
Carol,
Muppets Christmas Carol,
and a Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The things she's done is crazy. I'm still trying to find The Long Walk Home. No.
I started
Homer
watching like an 1 hour long documentary thing. Did you watch that? About the making of Color Purple?
5 minutes and then we were on this podcast.
But yeah, they were saying that she really wanted the role, that she was just a stand-up comedian before this and didn't know anything about it, but like she got it.
She was in a movie called Theodore Rex where she's standing next to a
dinosaur.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, she's like a cop or something.
It's a buddy cop sci-fi comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find this Christmas thing.
Yeah, and the same thing with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey was a reporter at the time. She wasn't the Oprah Winfrey that we know now.
Radio and TV host, but not the like with her own show and stuff. Yeah, I think you're right.
She was the one who in the interviews was like, I was just a reporter at the time. And apparently she had like went to a like health camp, which is just, an adult fat camp.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I found it. It's called Call Me Claus. And the poster is her sitting on Santa's lap. The movie involves Santa Claus, who needs a replacement Santa after serving his 200-year reign. He decides on Lucy Cullins, Whoopi Goldberg, an eccentric, grouchy shopping network executive who hires him to promote Christmas decorations and presents on the network.
That's awesome.
It's from the Hallmark Channel. I'm going to go watch this.
But Oprah really wanted the role too, and she wasn't really like an actress or anything, and she fought for it and she got it too. And it's interesting that these two like no name kind of like not no name, but like these two people that weren't known in the acting community got the role and honestly killed it
and went on to be listen.
Household names.
I think Whoopi shows her age a little bit on The View sometimes, because she's supposed to be the most left on that panel on that show, and sometimes she's very, very boomer-esque with some of her leftist views. But besides that aspect of her, I love Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
I listen, I'm sure you could show me a whole bunch of problematic stuff because she's been around for so long.
100%.
And I'm sure she's put her foot in her mouth a dozen times. Didn't she just do something really recently where she had to apologize?
Probably.
She said somebody wasn't racist or something. She said
all these people apologize all the time.
She said it was a big one. It was a big gaffe.
Blanket
Does anyone
endorsement
remember
of anybody.
Whoopi Goldberg said somebody. Did she say the Holocaust wasn't racist? She said something bad. It was big. She said very recently. She said a big bad thing.
I'm not going to go down a YouTube rabbit hole.
But regardless of any of this, I love Whoopi. I'm always happy to see her. Ever since Call Me Claus, call me a Whoopi fan.
I support you and your endeavors. I think I like Whoopi Goldberg, and I think in this movie she did a great job.
Oh, Ben Rom's here. I was right. It's about the Holocaust. Yeah, it was no laughs.
Doubles doubting on Holocaust. What did she say about the Holocaust? Okay, now I can't read this. I can't read this right now. I can't read this. I can't read it.
She apologized.
No, Nick, don't read it. Come on. Did you gotta edit this out?
Okay, whatever. Fine. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
I'll read it later. Thanks, Ben Rom. But anyway, Whoopi Goldberg. Wow. As soon as she was on screen and being playful, as trying to be this person that is clearly traumatized and has a regressive personality. Is that like how you would phrase it? Like she's acting like she hasn't grown
childlike,
up, right? She has been stunted because of all the things she's gone through. She portrays it so well. I think my biggest criticism for this movie, honestly, isn't in the other stuff we talked about. I didn't see enough of Whoopi Goldberg. Like, they showed her and she was always there, but they dealt with so much other stuff, which was interesting. And I liked some of the other people and I liked some of the other stories, but like, I wanted more, Celie. I wanted more in her mind and what she was going through. I wanted more with her learning how to stand up on her own 2 feet. She got there. Yeah. And I know how she got there, but I didn't see it. The whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, I wish this was a TV show because I want to see her getting these small victories of finding her own voice. Because she played it so well. Yeah. That's,
I think she did a great job. I think this would also work as a miniseries for sure.
Yeah. It feels like a BBC miniseries or something.
Yeah, you can make it longer for sure. But I enjoyed it too. And it's one of those things that I feel like you could tell it was adapted from a book where like all of that stuff, you would have been reading her inner thoughts, but you don't get to see that. So you just have to see what she's actually doing. And it's not as necessarily engaging as, if you could know what she was thinking at the time.
Yeah, we get small snippets like how she interacts with the kids, how she interacts with Mr., how she interacts with Sophia and how she interacts with Shug and all these things. But like on her own, what she did day to day, I don't know if the movie didn't have time for it, didn't have interest in it, but I did. I wanted to see that stuff. Like, listen, I'm not a filmmaker, so this is probably not what you should have made, but like, I wanted a little more melancholy from like seeing her going and picking up the eggs, seeing how she had to set up this kitchen, seeing like what she did in the in-between, seeing like, God forbid, her like making sure to like knit extra long to like be out of the bed. Like, I know those are horrible things, but like I wanted to see the journey she was on. And I felt like the movie was so crammed with so many things that I loved. I liked a lot of the things it was crammed with. I wanted more her.
I agree with that. I think that it was a lot of stuff happening around her, and it makes sense, right? Given her personality, given what she's going through, she's going to kind of be more reserved. And it's these events that kind of happen around her that get her out of her shell and get her to stand up for herself by the end of the film. And I didn't hate it because it was interesting to see Oprah. I thought Oprah was going to play a much bigger role than she did. Same. There were a lot of things I assumed about the movie because it's such a classic that actually watching it was like, oh, that's different than I thought.
Oprah's super interesting because the first time I ever saw her act was in Selma over the pandemic. I believe I watched it with T. And she has a very, very powerful moment in that film, but she's only in it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And in this one, she's there for like 20. But again, the lasting impact of her character on here was like crazy good.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was going to say that like, it's also interesting watching this film sort of not in a time, but like a lot of media is criticized for exploiting Black stories or exploiting stories of minorities where you're watching just like the most vile, painful shit happen to somebody with no like upbeat in the story to be like, but it's not that terrible all the time, or like there is hope kind of note in a film. I don't know what that's called. Daron probably knows if you're still listening. But that kind of thing, you see a lot of that exploitation happening in films, in TV shows and things like that. And so this felt kind of a little bit like that, especially having with a white director and stuff like that. But then again, seeing how important this movie is in the Black community, with T giving it to us as a challenge, and like growing up in the Bronx and around a lot of Black families that like had this movie or watched this movie, and I knew about this movie a lot from my friends and them watching it all the time and stuff like that. But I had never watched it myself. So, but it's interesting to see that something that like I would have not necessarily thought as an empowering film to watch kind of has made its way through the community and has become that.
Yeah, I think that is really interesting. And all we can do is guess and listen about why that is.
100%.
But
we don't know.
But the movie does do this thing where it feels like almost a magical time and place. And I don't mean that because of the good things or that these terrible things can't really happen. I mean magical as in like there's like almost a sense of wonder and longing about wanting to see these people succeed, right? Like I think it's the natural charisma and the natural loveliness of some of these people on screen, of how like we want to see them. Sophia specifically, like Oprah, right? As soon as she comes on screen to meet the father of her lover, and immediately she is a badass woman. She is freaking great.
Yeah.
And seeing her journey, and to the point of like where she leaves because her husband keeps hitting her and she won't stand for it, all the way up until she stands up for herself in that moment later in the film. Like she is just like this dynamic force that you're just rooting for. You're hoping the best. But then also on the other side, you got Celie, who you're like also rooting for and like hoping for the best. And like, there's, I think we all have a Celie in our lives and a Sophia in our lives, right? Like, I like taking away the specificnesses of this film. I think it's a very human story, right? Hoping for strength in moments of fortitude and not able to do the thing that we know we gotta do, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's why these things are so impactful.
Yeah, 100%. Daron says she thinks that Oprah's character did a lot to offset that. The Cecilia's trouble was limited to the society she lived in, but family she had. Sophia had a support system and love in her life and self-confidence. She ended up being punished for it, but it was seeing Cecilia come into herself that brought her joy back. Celie, sorry. I think the portrayal of joy is so important in media like that. So yeah, I think that like we were kind of talking about earlier, where we had this, like, it could be negative. It could be about like slavery and beating and like pain and harsh all the time. And you can be beaten over the head with it. But I think that this movie has a lot of hope. And even though like the journey kind of, ebbs and flows a little bit, and is not entirely up or down, I think does a lot for the film to make it something that's rewatchable and enjoyable in spite of all the bad things that are happening.
Yeah, I mean that's a criticism of media like 12 Years a Slave, right? I don't know if you've watched that film. It's a very good film, but it is what you're describing, where it's 12 years as a slave, and that is the movie.
Yeah.
And this movie that's not what this movie's about. This movie is not a trauma dump. It is not trying to say everything's wrong in the world. It's trying to say there's horrors in this world, and we live our lives in spite of them. All these people live. It's weird because this movie felt really long and really short at the same time, for me.
I agree.
It was a long film, but it also, like, I did want more, but also I was glad when we were done. So it was like a funny experience that way.
Yeah.
But I think the way all these people, they felt fleshed out. They felt lived in. They felt like an aunt and an uncle and a cousin and a sister and a brother and a mom and a dad. Like some specifics I found in like all these characters as we were going along, and it really helped me like really gravitate towards a lot of these people.
Yeah, they all felt like they had lives before the film started, which I think is so hard to do. Like it feels like sometimes when you're watching a movie, it feels like, okay, this character just blipped into existence and they don't exist outside of this film. This is not a real person. These all felt like real people.
Well, Marcus, did you feel like having all those people in this film distracted you from paying attention to specifics happening in the movie?
I missed everything in the movie.
Well, let's find out what. Roll the game. We're playing a clip. Roll the clip.
Now try this trivia. Now try this trivia. Now trivia. Now trivia. Now trivia this.
Okay, and we're back.
All right, Marcus, this is Now Trivia This, The Color Purple. This game is brought to you by our patron T. He made this game. He gave us 10.
Really?
I have no idea what any of this game is.
Wow.
And
Tizom.
there are 10 questions here, 10 multiple choice questions, and we can either play apart or together. It's up to you.
Let's play together. Let's play together.
Okay, fine. I would have crushed you.
100%.
Good for you. Good for you. There's 10 questions here. I have the answers. We're going to go through them. And by looking at the first one, he either made this way too easy or there's a curve to it. So we'll find out how this goes. T, thank you so much for giving this game. And please play along at home in the chat.
And also, if you're a patron and you want to make a game, just do it. And if your challenge wins and if you want to make a game, we'll try it.
Honestly, 100%. To save us the time. I framed it that way too. I was like, T, like you made the challenge. Like I'm sure you want to make a game for it too, right? Like that's totally something you want to do.
Wow, Nick. Wow.
That's not how I phrase it. I said, if you got time, you can. Don't worry about it if you don't. This also felt like a movie where I didn't feel comfortable making it.
100%.
Myself.
100%.
Like, what do I have to say? Well, I'm not going to
the challenge giver making the game for this movie and movies like this. Yes, 100%.
100%. First question. The Color Purple is directed by I won't give letters. I'm just saying the 4 directors. It's directed by Ridley Scott.
Is this a game for babies?
I don't know. Steven Spielberg.
I would watch Ridley Scott's The Color Purple.
You haven't heard the last 2.
Okay.
Peter Weir.
Who's that?
I don't know. I was hoping you knew. Peter Weir. He's an Australian film director who directed The Truman Show and Dead Poets Society.
Oh, okay. I've seen those.
All right. Okay. And Robert Zemeckis.
I would watch Ridley Scott Color Purple. That movie.
I would watch Ridley Scott direct anything.
I would watch Ridley Scott direct.
That man is great.
He could direct. Okay.
He can. He also can not direct as well. So he is a 50-50 kind of guy. He is straight up a 50-50 kind of guy.
Okay, I'm just thinking Alien, Ridley Scott. Classic Ridley Scott.
And like Gladiator, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, the Gladiator, yeah. And
I'm thinking Alien. Alien's beautiful.
But there's also Prometheus. I kind of like Prometheus.
But he didn't write it.
There's the
Prometheus
Last
was
Duel,
good looking.
The House of Gucci. I mean,
Did he make those? Did he write those? It's not his fault. He just directed them.
They are under his thing. So
fair enough.
I did The Martian. I like The Martian. Okay, this is clearly Steven Spielberg. Maybe they get harder.
Okay.
Play at home. That's number
Steven
1.
Spielberg.
I will not even look at the answer. Steven Spielberg. Okay. What year does the film begin in?
Oh, no. We just proved that we do not know this.
I think I do know this.
1914.
1902, 1909, 1918, 1920.
1909.
Yeah, it's totally 1909, right? Yes, 1909.
Yeah.
Great. All right, 2 for 2.
We're geniuses.
Okay. This is getting a little harder. Let's see.
Nick, when I fart on the podcast, can you hear it?
Let me hear it. Yes.
Damn.
Number 3. What is the name given to Celie's daughter by her new parents? Olivia, Suzanne, Pauline, Nettie.
It's Pauline, right?
Hold on, though. I know it's not Nettie because that's the sister.
Olivia's the real name.
Shouldn't be Olivia because it's real name, but there is that scene where the new mom tries to say she gave her the name Olivia. And I don't remember what her actual name is.
I think it was Pauline.
Is it Pauline?
Yeah, I think it's Pauline.
All right, we'll go with your answer, but it could clearly be wrong. But it's not. It's Pauline. Good job. All right,
Pauline. Beautiful.
How long was Sophia in prison? Can we just talk really quick?
That like 20 years?
I was freaking shocketh when there was a time jump after she hit that person.
I know.
I was so shocked.
I know. And it was so heartbreaking.
It was
like
so heartbreaking.
the mob descended on her and she
that was so hard.
was just trying to defend herself. And she had this like can-do, confident woman that was just being out of her by her ex-husband and society, and just that's so heartbreaking. That like,
did you realize though that was the mayor and the mayor's wife?
Yeah,
I didn't. So I was a little confused.
They said it was.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do you? I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was dealing with Marcus. Marcus, the king of cinema.
I remember
every time he watches everything,
the baby's name was Pauline.
Every word spoken by every character,
like a steel trap.
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Like
I'm so sorry.
Trap.
I am bowing. They
made a big deal about it. He went, I am the mayor. Here's my mayor deed.
Okay, I was playing Pokemon at that moment. What are you going to do, okay? You going to beat me about it? Whatever. Come on. Get out of here.
Everyone bowed and said, oh, yes, mayor. Thank you for visiting, mayor.
And then they sing that song, I am the mayor.
Yeah,
I am the mayor.
Song and dance. You missed it.
All right. Number 4. How long was Sophia in prison? 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years?
I said 20 years, so I am 100% wrong.
I'm pretty sure it was 8 years.
This one's gonna be
but it seemed like way more. They made her age a lot.
That's true. I thought it was 20 years because one of her kids was like a grown adult, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" She was like, "Nice to meet you, mama." That was so sad.
That was so sad. It was 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. Good job.
Number 5. Where did Albert hide the letters from Nettie?
They were in a box that was under a floorboard, like in a I don't know
under
what
the floorboard.
Options. Okay.
In a chest.
No.
Inside his mattress. In the mailbox. Don't look at this full old mailbox. You've been looking for letters. They're not in the mailbox.
It's like cartoonishly full, just huge stuff full of envelopes. I think the floorboard.
It is the floorboard. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yes, under the floorboard. Very interesting how Shug and her were like searching through stuff. That was an interesting part of the film for me.
Yeah.
Because because at that point in the film, I don't know if you felt the same, but it was just like, I'm going to talk about it later. I have more to say about it. I'm going to talk about that later.
Okay.
Number 6. What does Shug Avery say to her father when they finally reconcile? 1. See, Daddy, sinners have soul too. I love you, Daddy. I missed you, Daddy. Singers have soul too.
Sinners have soul too. The sequel to Sinners Have Soul.
Oh, T does bring up a point where he did say he would kill her if she checked the mailbox. So
yeah.
I guess that is as good of a hiding place as any.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was See, Daddy, Sinners Have Soul too. Again, powerful moment. We'll talk more about it later. But
I would watch a movie called Sinners Have Soul.
Wow. So would I.
Right?
So would I. So what book does Celie and Nettie read together?
Oliver Twist?
Hold on, I didn't read the choices.
Okay.
Is it A, Oliver Twist? B, Moby Dick?
Mm-hmm.
C, The Swiss Family Robinson? Or D, Little Women?
I'm going to say Oliver Twist.
Love that movie.
I'm going to say Oliver
I'm
Twist.
going to give you Little Women soon. I just watched a retrospective about it. We're going to watch that movie soon. But yes, Oliver Twist is my guess as well. And it was. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
3 left.
T, you can't get me. I pay attention. Nick said it himself. He admitted. I notice every little detail. You can't get it past me. And while I'm playing my Switch. That's what ADD does, baby.
I also am reading question 9 before we get there. And I'm like, I do not understand this question at all.
Okay.
But
question
before
9.
that is 8, which is, who is responsible for Celie and Nettie's reunion? Shug Avery, Sophia, Harpo, which is a cool name, or Albert.
Harpo is Oprah
Somehow,
backwards.
I would say everyone's responsible because they all have colored Celie's life along the way. But if you're asking me who paid for it, it was Albert.
Wait, who's responsible for the sister?
The reunion, yeah.
Okay, I guess Albert. I don't like that framing of it.
Yeah, I think that's that is what he's going for. He meant just literally like
who went to the
he paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. Number 9. All her life, Sophia had to
fight. I had to fight my brothers. I had to fight my cousins.
Wow, you really
I had
watched
to
this
fight-
movie. I would have not known exactly. Was that I didn't remember that line.
I know
from the
that from T constantly quoting it all the time.
Oh, really? You got called out. All right. Let me see. Yeah,
Every
let's
time
fight.
The Color Purple comes on, he does his little T does a monologue. He does that monologue.
I want to see it now. I don't recall. All right, finish this line. This is the last one. See if we can get 10 for 10. Finish this line. I may be poor, black, I may even be ugly, but
Oh, I do. Oh, okay, this is at the end of the film when she's driving away. But
oh no, this is at the dinner table, isn't it?
she says it a couple times because she says it. I think as they're driving away, she says something like that too. If she doesn't say that exactly,
Oh, I thought this was the dinner table.
but at the dinner
you could be
table, she
right,
says
though.
something too.
So I may be poor, black, I may even be ugly, but you ready for the choices?
Yeah.
But so are you, Albert. So are you. But dear God, I'm here. But everything you've done to me, gonna be done to you.
I think it's that one.
But none of that matter now.
I think it's the third one.
The only reason I want to guess number 2 is because Cynthia Erivo sings a song near the end of the show called I'm Here.
Oh.
But
maybe
what
you're right.
you-
Maybe that's this. Darren says I'm here also. So let's go with that then. If 2 people are saying I'm here, then I
not
might
because
be
I
wrong.
remember it, because of
No.
context clues, not because I
Okay,
remember
so
it.
then do I'm here.
All right, I'm here. Yep, dear God, I'm here. That's
Nice.
where the line from the song goes. That makes sense. There you go.
Nice. I was
That
close.
is collectively 10 for 10 for Now Try This. We have crushed your game, T. You cannot get past us. We are the best.
killing
you are
it, killing
defeated.
it, killing it, killing it,
You've been
killing it
defeated.
every day.
Every day, killing it every day.
And if
every
you think
day,
you
killing
can
it.
stump us, go on to patreon.com, join the Patreon,
Give us games.
then win the Patreon, then give us a game.
No,
Or
just
not.
give us games. Give us games for any upcoming challenge. We may or may not
Yeah,
use
we'll
them.
do it. Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, this line is when she was driving away in the car. Marcus was thinking of another. I was thinking of another line at the dinner table.
Okay.
So you were right. Is the end of my statement.
Okay, great. Sick. Okay.
So one of the things that one of those questions made me want to mention really quick is
Shug,
I don't
Albert,
remember.
and the letter. Those are the 2 times you stopped. When we were talking about Shug and Albert and the letter. They were like, oh, we'll talk about that.
No, pick one of them. We'll talk about it.
Let's talk
I
about
don't
Shug
remember the
first, and then we can talk about the end of the movie.
Oh, Shug, really interesting character.
Yes.
Because she's
Yes.
supposed to be like the villain. She's got the picture there. Albert clearly feels for her
Mhm.
and is taking it out on Celie and like then when she first shows up, she's like, you're ugly, and
Yeah.
and then she's like throwing food and crap, and you're like, wow, she sucks. But then somewhere along the way, the movie was like, no, we're supposed to root for Shug.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That's stupid. And then by the end, I was like, wow, I was rooting for Shug. The movie
Yeah,
did that thing.
100%. Spielberg was, I was going to say this also. Spielberg originally went to Shaka Khan and Tina Turner for the role, but turned it down. He eventually cast veteran actress Margaret Avery. And although she had prior musical experience, her singing voice was dubbed by Tata Vega. Also, another side note, he approached Tina Turner to do the role, and Tina Turner said no because her relationship was too close to what she went through with Ike Turner. And so she didn't want to have to relive that on set. And Steven Spielberg said, fair enough.
That's harsh. That's
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
Hey, would you like to do this memento role that'll like be amazing? It already happened to me.
Yeah, I did that. I did that.
Okay. Oh, cool. Mea culpa. I'm gonna see myself out. Oh.
Yeah, I
awkward.
imagine having that phone call, like this very public thing that happened to this person, and you being like, "Hey, you want to be in this movie?" And they're like, "No, you fucking idiot!" And it's like, ah.
Oh, because of the right.
Yeah. Sorry. I forgot. Cool.
So
Jesus.
for me, I totally understand the criticism that they could have gone farther in the relationship between Shug and Celie in terms of graphicness, in terms of eroticness, in terms of presenting it to the world. Gosh, I don't know. Again, it's not something I can really speak on. You know, if somebody wants their representation done a different way, who am I to say anything? For me, I got it. I wasn't feeling want for more. I wasn't, not because I don't want to see more, but show me whatever you want to show me. But the way Celie was in this movie, where it was this regressive nature to it, this her trying to work through a life filled with trauma and trying to find herself.
Yeah.
I liked how subtle it was, because for me, it didn't overshadow Celie's own journey on trying to figure out who she was,
Yeah. I think that the relationship, like at the time, especially like making them fully in a relationship, sneaking behind Albert's back or whatever along those lines, I think would have been hard to do at the time in a major motion picture.
It would have.
And I do think that they could explore that more in the remake and in future iterations. But I do think that I conceptually got it. I understood how close they were in the little moments when Albert's excited and Celie's just as excited to go see Shug again. Like you get their connection, you get their closeness.
You know what it was? You know why I'm saying what I'm saying? I think it's because I didn't want to see any more, because for me, Celie in that moment was so childlike.
I agree. I think that the reason that it worked was because in that moment with the kiss, Shug is gentle and caring and kisses her lightly, and then pulls back and is like, okay, maybe this isn't a thing to do. And then Celie comes in, and then Celie gives the kiss, and then it feels like, okay, this is okay, because it's on Celie's terms.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to show.
And then if they were in a full-blown secret relationship, I think it would have... I don't know how it happens in the book. If it happens in the book that way, cool. But for me, the movie really worked because I think I was just so invested in Celie figuring it out herself.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, she wouldn't have been figuring it out herself. It would have been a love thing. It would have been chasing after her thing.
Yeah.
And that's not what I wanted, because the story of friendship, of sisterhood, of womanhood that I got by the end with Shug, and how she helped her move away, and how they're on the house at the end in that moment. I loved that. Like, I really loved, the family part of it, how they all came together as a found family, helped each other through it, helped each other stand up on their own feet. I think this movie really nailed that. A lot of movies like this will give you that safety parachute to like have someone help you to the degree where you're not really like it's like a magic fairy tale ending, right? Like a fairy tale reason is why it all got fixed.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, the people in this film, the reason they're able to stand up at the end is because they freaking worked really hard to be able to stand up.
Yeah.
And the movie shows that,
Yeah.
But then there was the Albert of it all. Now, Albert sucks.
Piece
we
of
don't
shit.
have to say why or all the reasons.
Abusive piece of shit. Just general, all the forms of abuse you could do.
Do you wish Shug didn't stop him? Would you have been more satisfied if Celie had slit his throat?
No. So it's interesting, right? I was thinking about this when we were talking about the movie, because like the whole time, like Daron, the first time, especially when she has the razor to her throat, Darren's like screaming, kill him, kill him. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, kill him, kill him, kill him. And then the second time it happens, she's like, okay, she's gonna kill him. And then Shug comes and stops her. I thought that was important that happened that way, right? Because one, all the good thing that happened at the end wouldn't have happened, because she would have maybe been arrested, gone to prison, and been put away for God knows how long, and been forced to work as a maid for a white family or something. Who knows? Who knows?
Crazy
what would have happened.
that was a punishment that happened from the courts.
So that sucks. And that would have been her fate. And instead she got this nice ending because she didn't do that thing. And I feel like in movies, we are, and especially for people who don't necessarily go through traumatic events themselves, they're trained to be like, kill the person, get rid of them, make them something I don't have to think about anymore, and I can enjoy the happy ending. But I think with real trauma and real pain, that person is still around. The person doesn't die. It's not like a comic book. It's not a Marvel movie where the villain dies at the end conveniently and the hero gets to walk away like from the situation, that villain, that person that hurt you is still around, and they're always going to exist in the same world that you do, and you have to kind of remove yourself from that and get away from the situation, which is near impossible a lot of times because, you know, society doesn't put programs in place to protect people or help people in these situations, so it makes it very difficult. But if the movie felt more real because she didn't kill him, because he was still a person that was around in the world.
I buy that.
Yeah.
It's a great reason. Okay, cool.
What about you? Did you like it or did you not like it?
I didn't have an opinion. I was asking you to give me one, and you did. Thank you. I will say, though, you also bring about a really interesting thing that I was thinking about a lot during this movie, where it was, I don't know if it's a culture thing. I don't know if it's just a sense of privilege that I myself have, but I find myself, when I watch things like this, that's not true. When I hear from other people whilst watching things like this, is there's always this sense of, well, then get out. Well, then leave. Well, then do something about it. I think our culture, to a negative, has that mentality about things like this.
100%. Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah. I'm just riffing off of what you're saying.
100%. Yeah.
And for me, this movie has been one of the few times I've been watching a film where I feel like, and I don't even know if it's a conscious decision or they did it on purpose, but it feels like I understand it a bit more. Because I also know, you know, as an adult man with all the privilege that I have in my life right now, there's very few things I would stand for, right? But, you know, not everyone is like that. You know, the fact that it's all family, the fact that they have nowhere else to go, the fact that they have no money, the fact that they were trauma trained into these positions, the fact that, you know, this was 1909, the fact that all these things are happening. There's just, you know, today in these situations, like, this movie would have been about getting out. You know, when you watch Enough with Jennifer Lopez, that movie is about getting out.
Yeah.
You're right. And that's what a lot of
the problem with these movies. The problem with these movies is that they have a clean, happy ending where, like, the person goes away or is killed, and or the woman being hurt or the person being hurt gets revenge, and it's a nice little bow because they get away with it in the end. Like, but that's not how the real world works. Even today, that's not how the real world works.
Yeah, and this movie, like, the way it deals with family is so interesting because it's felt the most real to me that I've seen in recent memory, because, you know, family for me is something that I can disregard, like, in my life. That's a safety mechanism I've trained myself to be able to do because of disappointments, right? But, you know, usually this is how it actually goes, especially in situations like this, where it's like family is this thing that you like, and there's small moments, even small moments that it's not. No, I'm just rambling. There's small moments where, like, Sophia, like, finally leaves with her family, but she's leaving the other half of her family behind. But then she comes back. Then she ends up being back there again. And then at the end of the movie, there's this beautiful shot where they're all standing outside of Celie's home, and they're all standing around on the porch and in the front, and they're all there. The whole family. All these people have committed bad things, and the only person who's not there is Albert, but even he is off in the distance watching, where it's like that sense of getting out was never a core principle in this movie, and I think that's one reason why I respected it so much. It felt so real because of that. It felt so honest.
Yeah. You know, it wasn't done in a way that was like, this is a horror movie and she needs to, like, escape, or it was just like physically removing yourself from the circumstance that you're in doesn't always help. You know, a lot of times you're brought back to it. A lot of times you have to come back for whatever reason. It could be children that you have with the person. It could be no other place to go, money, whatever. But a lot of times you have to come back. And they showed that in this film. They showed her having to sort of, like, even though she had the freedom to go to the store, you know, on her own, she couldn't use that as an opportunity to escape because she didn't have anywhere to escape to.
Yeah, super complicated. And, you know, they do have that moment. They do have that moment at the dinner table where they do get out, you know, but it felt so earned by that point that it didn't feel like it was a fairy godmother or a magic safety net. Or
I like that.
It felt super earned.
Yeah, and it wasn't coming. I think a lot of times a movie will have, like, oh, there's like the local cop or some man or something will come in and be like, I'm gonna fight this guy and show him that like he shouldn't be abusing you. And
Yeah.
that didn't happen. Like she grew on her own, got out on her own, and like she had friends and people who cared about her that helped her grow, but she did it. And I think that was really important to show.
Gosh, Whoopi really showed growing in this movie. Because it didn't feel like it jumped. It felt like growing. It felt bit by bit she was learning and growing as a person.
Yeah.
That was so great. Mark T said in the chat that this movie made him realize how good of an actor Danny Glover is because he loved to hate him. God, I hate to say it, but Danny Glover was phenomenal.
No, I didn't know he could do that. I was like, I hate this man. And he's just like such a lovely, jovial person in all the other movies I've ever seen him in.
Yes. And in this, he was, nauseating. Nauseating. I feel nauseous thinking about him in this film.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then just to scoop up towards the end, one small criticism was I felt like it ended 6 times, but
oh really?
I just felt like I felt like Celie leaving was the ending of the movie, and then I felt like Sophia coming back was the end of the movie, and then I felt like the church scene was the end of the movie. Then the actual end of the movie. I thought Albert just going to the immigration thing was the end of the movie, and then I thought the reunion was the end of the movie, and then I was like, movie, you had 6 endings. I get it. I was happy to see it all. I wasn't like, oh, I don't want to see more. I was glad to see more, but each one felt like a climactic end to a film.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, I could kind of see that. I disagree. I feel like the movie felt like it didn't feel like the movie that I could point to that felt like that the most is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I almost left the theater like 3 times because they kept thinking the movie ended.
Okay.
Okay. We're doing this person's thing.
They're gonna.
Cool. So this did not feel like that. So
sure. That's an extreme. But I think we just have to talk about the 2 scenes: is the church scene and the last scene. The church scene. Wow, how interesting for sure. Oh, you know what it also felt like? It felt like they wanted to wrap up everyone's story, but the only one I really cared about was Celie. Like, I was glad to see everybody's story, and I'm glad everyone got their moment. But like at this point in the movie, I was just like, I just want to know how Celie is.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to see this big church moment with them hearing the church from all the way over there and then coming and joining in. The singing was fantastic. The feeling was there. I'm not a religious person, but like, I felt it.
Yeah.
I felt like in that moment, them coming together for that thing, and I can never knock a person turning to faith to get through a trying time like all these people are. Because
100%.
So beautiful. But
faith and religion can be a beautiful thing for sure. Like, I think that like it creates community. It creates like a system that allows people to have someone to talk to about things. Like, it people you can rely on, and family that it could be found family for a lot of people. I don't know. There's a lot of good that can come out of church.
Yeah, and it was super emotional. Margaret Avery was fantastic as she ended here, hugging her dad and coming into terms in that moment.
Oh yeah. And she upstaged that one girl so hard. That girl was singing. She was killing it. She was like, she brought all those people to the church, and then Shug had to come and be like, I'm singing now. I'm singing now.
That's a villain origin story right there. And then we had found out Nettie was in Africa. Albert pays for Nettie and her family to come. And there's this beautiful shot of this house and them coming with these banner fabric things. And it was beautiful. And they come up and, Nettie was the only reason I think you justify the beginning of this film is because how much Celie and Nettie mean to each other because of that beginning of that film, that first 20 minutes. Like the bond they have is eternal and unbreakable, and seeing them finally reconnect after this whole movie, shockingly poetically fulfilling.
Yeah, no, I think their relationship was really good. I honestly thought the relationship was going to be like the whole movie, but I like that Celie had different relationship dynamics with different people when people came and went from her life.
Yeah, and they bring in Adam and Olivia, and she hugs them and Nettie, and then the movie kind of strange has Albert like come up from the
like a
horizon.
really like a little redemption moment, and it was like, no,
is
you
that
don't
what it was
deserve
trying
that.
to do?
That's what it felt like. I can't say what it was trying to do.
I don't know what other reading there is of it, but that's just so dumb that I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, it felt like they showed him like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like it was his version of saying I'm sorry, but you are not redeemed, my man. You are a bad guy, and there's nothing you could do to fix that.
And then they continue to do it in the closing credits where they have Nettie and Celie do their patty cake game again. Well, again, Albert like walks in the background behind them.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. Yeah,
like explain it to me. Like,
I don't know. I'm assuming they were trying to be like, and he's semi-redeemed.
Oh, Daron says it felt like to her an exhibit of Celie's power. Her curse worked.
Okay, I see that. But sure, he could still get hit by a truck. And that goes against everything I said earlier about like the villains and it being real, and the villain can like the villains are still out there in the world, existing the same world you are in. You have to learn to kind of live with that. But he could have gotten hit by a truck.
Yeah, real interesting. That's the only ending that I would like. I would love to hear Speilberg explain it to me.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only thing. I don't even know if I needed to see him die. I was done with. I got it.
Yeah,
I was good.
I also didn't like. I magically inherited all this money in the house. I don't know how else you would have done it, because she was in like it was bad situation. But then, it was also weird because also at that moment they made sure to let us know that her kids were not her brother and sister. So it was like this weird cleanup moment. Yeah.
Where it was like, I mean, I'm thankful it's not, but also like, movie, are you just trying to clean it up?
It's like why make it less messed up? It was messed up. It is a messed up thing that happened. Don't be like, oh, now actually it's not messed up.
Yeah.
I cried. I cried like 1,000 times in this movie.
I only cried at the end, but that's because I was just taking it in, not because of a critique on the movie. One more thing.
Okay, I have another thing after your thing, specifically
one more thing for me. Okay, great. Was that a fantasy moment when Celie first leaves and then she's on the trains and gives chocolate coins to some random girl on the train? I
was wondering. I was like, she went to Tennessee, and so I'm assuming she gave chocolate coins to a girl, and she just saw the little girl as her sister.
But also, how did she get so much money to like look so good, to have such like a nice clothes and to ride a train? And
I have no idea. Maybe it was a dream. I don't know.
Have a waiter.
I was wondering about that too. It was weird, but it felt nice.
And then I thought that was the end of the movie because I was like, oh, we're in like a fantasy sequence, and there's the end. Okay. And then I looked, and there were 20 more minutes, and I was like, I'm so confused.
Yeah. I have no idea. I have words to say to you. Long ago in the history of this podcast, I gave you a challenge, Grave of the Fireflies, which is one of the saddest movies I've ever watched before watching this movie.
I made T watch it.
And you switched and made T watch the challenge. And so in my head, this is revenge for me making him watch Grave of the Fireflies. I don't know. Maybe it's a narrative I'm making, but who knows?
T, hold on a second. Are you trying to call me out? She couldn't have one nice dress. The whole point of the whole film was she did not have nice things. That's not me projecting. The movie said she ain't got nothing. That's the point of all of this.
But at the end, she was working in a fashion thing, so maybe she like made a nice dress. I don't know.
After that, why? Where did she? Then show me that. Then there was a deleted scene of 20 seconds of her showing me her crushing it.
Shug, it was just like Shug could have given her a dress. That's a good point.
100%. But that did not look like a dress that should. Wow. But also, she was in a situation where she was on a train with a waiter. I'm standing by my point. There was a waiter presenting her a tray filled with chocolates.
There were just cheap chocolate coin things
from a waiter
from like the dollar store.
This is 1909. You know how much a one gold coin chocolate cost in 1909, Marcus?
It's worth as much as gold.
Yes. I'm standing by my point. That scene was weird. It felt like a fantasy sequence. It was out of place. They either needed to show me that she got prominence and money or something.
I did not see that scene as a fantasy at all, and I just accepted it. But I see what you're saying.
The waiter presented her candy chocolate coins. What are you talking about? It was clearly a fantasy scene. All of you guys are smoking something. Get out of here, all of you.
The height of fantasy. Gold chocolate coin.
That seems like something Celie would make up in her fantasy head. She's a little traumatized. She's got PTSD, man.
When I flew first class, the stewardess brought out gold chocolate coins.
Exactly. That didn't happen. Only in your dreams, like Celie's in that moment.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough.
Anyway. T, you didn't answer his question. Was this payback for making you watch Grave of the Fireflies? Marcus has to know
burning question
before he can move on with his
burning
life.
Question.
I just got yelled at for yelling. It was important.
It's podcast time. You can yell in podcast time. I bet you my neighbors hear me yelling. I live in a house, and I'm sure they can hear me. These windows are not that thick.
Marcus, is there anything else in this movie you'd like to talk about?
No. I think that's it. I think phenomenal acting.
Well, Marcus, did you like this film?
I did like the film. Did you like the film?
Gosh, I really did, T. I really thought I wouldn't, and I was gonna have to come up here and like be like, "Ugh, this old stupid film," but like, the movie's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really is good. Mostly on the performances. These women are just like, iconic.
Incredible historic roles. I love it.
Marcus, would you recommend this film? Oh, also, T, this film was nominated, I think it was for 11 Academy Awards and didn't win any.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
It was a hard year.
Would I recommend the film? Yeah, 100%. I recommend the film. If you want to have a good cry, I think it's worth it. I think it's good because you're crying in the sad parts and you're crying at the happy parts. It's nice. You get both.
I think this film is on some lists of like top 100 films, and I could totally see why. And I think it should be on those recommended things. And I would recommend this film 100%. Yeah. It's needed viewing for almost everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus, will you be watching the movie musical when it comes out?
Oh, 100%. I will see that in theaters. I will be there. I will support.
I'm so sad I missed it with Cynthia Erivo on stage. You saw it.
Yeah.
Right? T saw it multiple times. I really wish I saw that.
It was great. It was beautiful.
I thought I saw that her T was going to be Celie, but you're saying it's Fantasia Barrino of American Idol. Oh, Fantasia?
Oh.
Really?
Was she on?
I don't love Fantasia.
She might have been on the stage version for like a week during its run or something.
Danielle Brooks reprising her role because she was on whatchamacallit. She was on Broadway. Interesting.
Okay. Cool.
That's all the questions. Guys, you were here during our Patreon episode to listen to us talk about The Color Purple. That also means that if you made it this far, you're definitely going to be here next time. So go ahead and join that Patreon. Patreon.com/ now try this. Oh, I hit my mic.
What happened there? Do it again. I need a clean dab.
I need patreon.com/ now try this cast to join our Patreon. Let us know what is going on and how you want to join the conversation and to vote on what we will be doing next. Oh, her is in a different role. I got it. To come in and leave us Spotify reviews and Apple reviews, and we're at Now Try This Cast everywhere. Join the conversation. We love you, and see you next Tuesday.
If you're listening to this podcast, you know how to support podcasts, so go do it. Support us. We're your friends. We love you. You love us. Remember to go out there and try some things. Goodbye. Good night.
Friends get together so they can try things. You're invited to this podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
Cool. Sick.
You want to share a screen with me?
Yeah.